Lagos, Nigeria, Africa to the world. My name is Akieme Matthew, aka Akin the Talkative. We at Exodus Talk bring you the beginning from the end and the end within reach. Life is formed with both end and the beginning. But the hidden truth about life is that no matter how far you have gone, you find yourself coming back to the beginning. The beginning is the end we envisage, and the end is the beginning we clamor and struggle to see. This paradox is powerful and humorous to this program you are about to see. We at Exodus Talk are extremely proud that we have been able to put together conversation between two intelligent, eloquent, socio-critics youths, Alfred Bassi and Ayo Elliot. Alfred Bassi is an author of the fast-growing literature text in the senior institution across the states. He is also the lead of Ovation Point Limited. Ayo Elliot Irabor is first an advocate of African literature, literary and social critics with international taste to his name. He is also a speaker, researcher, editor of 5 international books to his credits, aside the ones in Nigeria. You will be seeing the first clip of this soul-to-soul conversation with Exodus Talk. Happy viewing.
Your view on the recent envisage protest?
The envisage protest, obviously, it's an event that will not be forgotten in a hurry as far as the history of this nation is concerned, because it's a matter that did not just deal with national issues, but actually involved the lives of people. So definitely it's like a bad seed, an evil seed that have been sown in the history of this nation.
I beg to differ from that view of yours by saying it's a bad seed. I think it's something good, not necessarily bad, because what they were agitating, what we were agitating for, because they are colleagues, they are youth like us, it's something good for everyone. And then calling it or tagging it a bad seed, I mean, I hope you're not being figuratively. Yes.
Anyway, I said it's bad, not because there's anything wrong with protest. Protest is a normal thing. Protest is a human thing. Even a baby that is born does protest and has every right to protest.
Certainly.
But you see, what eventually makes it bad, which informed my conclusion about it being bad, is the very product, the very reaction of the very set of people or the targets of the protest. It is quite sad that it led to death of young people, and of course, even as we are still talking now, there is the very protest, the very thing that was protested against. It's obviously has not been attended to. So why would I boldly say that it's a bad one? It's a sad one.
Well, I'll take that back from the perspective of what we were actually agitating for, not yet met, and at the same time the president or the government whatsoever not even keeping to their words of having this thing done well. I think that's it has been a Nigeria thing anyway, and I hope really we have to put an end to it, and we really do have to put an end to it.
That is my prayer, that is my wish, that is my desire. I'm a young man, so I have every reason to believe, to wish, to fight for the betterment of the nation, my nation, because the fact remains that no matter what is going on in this country, I can't I can't deny that I am no longer a Nigerian.
You are in Nigeria by birth, right?
That is the fact.
You're not being. I think this Nigeria thing is it's a scam to me, and I would say it's a scam in the sense that first we didn't call ourselves Nigerians. We grew up in a country where Nigeria was tag on us. Well, I don't want to go that way anyway. But what I just see in this endsars of a thing. Sincerely, I mean, the media now have to be very objective.
Yeah.
And now, the death and the killing of the youth there, their blood shed on the floor of Nigeria. You know what that symbolizes or what that signifies? It actually does signify independence. You are an history student, and you did a lot of you read history and you did history in your university, and then you also understand that. In the course of Nigeria gaining their independence or our independence, there was nothing like bloodshed.
None, to the best of my knowledge.
And when we're talking about independence, to be free, freedom requires blood. It requires real agitation. So, if we are to look at that context, I believe that October 20th should be Nigeria re-independence. And if you are to look at the content of what independence basically is, because what we had, or what the Pan-Africans or the Pan-Nigerians, what we were taught in school about Tofa Balewa and the rest, Azikwe, the rest fighting for Nigeria freedom, and going through the history, we find out that it wasn't basically independent they were fighting for. They were fighting for their own self-rule, and besides that, there was no unity in terms of like, oh, from the north, from the south and the west and the east rather, coming together to have a centralized government. Instead, they were all they were after self. So I wouldn't call that independence.
I really beg to disagree with you on that point. You see, we can't really call that independence because they fought for it, yes, and they lost their lives in the process. I mean, the youths that were
killed. You also included
in the sure.
Because
sure.
I remember I protested.
No, sure. Whether anything happens to me or nothing happens to me, something, of course, happens to me psychologically, because I am a Nigerian. I'm a youth. So whichever youth, whoever is touched, I mean, it concerns every youth. Because yes, we might not have been part of the people who were shot, allegedly, at the Lekki toll gate. But definitely, the people who lost their lives were part of us. They were part of this fight. They were part of this vision. They were part of this mission.
A new Nigeria.
The new Nigeria we're talking about. So I can't really call that independence. Why? Because the blood that they shed in the process of fighting for the new Nigeria, it seems to have been neglected. Because from the independence of this nation that you just mentioned, yes, it didn't involve bloodshed, but yet we are at least politically free.
I beg to disagree. We are not politically free.
Anyway, from the context
of
books.
Okay. I get your check. Now you're trying to look at it not practical wise.
Yeah. No, politically at least what we are taught. And what is written on the books.
Now you're making me laugh like a baby.
You see, that was what this man, the Angolan poet, talked about in his poem "The Great Lands."
Oh, you're talking about Augustine.
Yes, yes, Neto Agostino.
Yeah, exactly.
So he made it clear that the slavery, of course, slavery in that poem it means two things. slave trade and then colonialization.
Exactly.
He made it clear that it started, yes, slavery started back in the days, of course, traced down to the 15th century. But he also made it clear also that slavery still continues till today.
Exactly. Mental slavery.
Mental slavery. So I am not talking about independence in the reality of the word independence. I am talking about the books, what we read, what we are made to believe, what academicians, what the books, what the textbooks, what you call it, government call it political science textbooks, what they make us understand. Because it is clear that Nigeria has never been independent. We've never been independent.
Not only Nigeria, perhaps Africa.
Africa. Yes, of course. It's just that when you say Nigeria, of course, Nigeria, like everybody everybody has been made to believe, is the giant of Africa. So, because I'm even surprised that, you see, a number of times when you mention Nigeria, a good number of foreigners tend to tag it Africa from that angle. So that's still what I'm talking about.
There's something I really want to say before I actually ask you I want us to discuss something. But there's this thing I want to point out. You know, it baffles me that you have a presidential aspirant here now coming out to become vying for the post of being the president.
Yeah.
And then you see that same person going to the Western world to meet with their president. Now, I begin to imagine what are they discussing? What is he going there to discuss? And this is what I found out in one of my articles that I wrote recently, The Problem of the Whites. I mentioned something that our political elite go straight down to the Western world to have a conversation with the leaders there. And in the course of conversation, I discovered that the Western world check their mental state. If the mental slavery is still in there. It's effective. But they don't know. Because you look at their conversation, you look at the way they invite them, and then they don't even have a saying what they're saying. And even the say they have in the saying is calling them to come invest. Invest where? Africa that has a lot of everything that they're even coming to take out from you. I think that would be another discourse for another day, because it really baffles me. It baffles me a lot, and I believe Nigeria. I believe this present youth that we have. They call them coconut head. I believe we'll definitely make a headway. I believe that.
And we are, of course, we are. We have, the sign is clearly there. You see, my brother, the fact remains that when a child wants something, that child will never stop.
Exactly.
You might beat the child will cry, but definitely you can't stop that child. You can't. You might try it as an adult. You might try everything you can to oppress that child. But once that child has something that is protesting for, no matter what you do as an adult, you might beat that child, try in one way or the other to make that child to stop. The fact remains that he can't. He cannot. You are only delaying the protest. You can't stop the child. You are only delaying it.
It's sort of what is happening with the Biafra agitation.
That is the fact. That is the fact.
So you boldly can say now that you are also in support of that movement.
Sure. Every sane youth will definitely be in support of anything that will bring about the birthing of the new nation. Because it is clear that our nation is old. Our nation is old psychologically, socially, politically, economically, and in whichever way you might tend to think about it from the global perspective.
I don't like the way you use the word "our nation is old," because we never had a nation, and Nigeria is never a nation. Or perhaps, like you said, in the context of books.
Of books.
Okay, I'll take it that way.
Of books. We are old. We are. And you see, our old age, in a lighter mood, I beg to be somehow sarcastic. Our old age is clearly symbolized by the age of the people leading us. Somebody was, a comedian once made a joke that the problem with Nigeria is that our leaders have always been older than the nation itself.
And that's a very big problem.
And there's a big problem. So according to the comedian, that is why the leaders have no respect for the nation, because they are older.
and they can divert as will without giving account for anything. Accurately,
because it's an African thing. An old man has no reason to be accountable to a child.
Exactly.
So you are leading, you are ruling. Of course, we are not leading in this. I've barely seen anything leadership so far. Let me use rulership.
Sorry to cut you, because you.
African Nigeria, the magic